The courtroom was packed that Tuesday morning. Just another day in Providence Municipal Court until Judge Frank Caprio called the next case and everything changed. A man stepped forward, stated his name, and suddenly the judge who had seen it all went completely silent. What happened next left everyone in that courtroom speechless and reminded us why some debts can never truly be repaid. Welcome to Human Stories. Before we dive into this incredible true story of recognition, gratitude, and an unexpected courtroom moment, tell me in the comments, have you ever had someone recognize your family name and share a story that changed everything? Hit that subscribe button because stories like this deserve to be remembered. Providence Municipal Court operates like clockwork every weekday morning. Judge Frank Caprio, now in his 80s, has presided over this courtroom for more than 3 decades. He's seen every type of case, heard every excuse, and witnessed both the best and worst of human nature. But that Tuesday morning in March, something happened that would shake him to his core. The courtroom was fuller than usual. Traffic violations, parking tickets, minor infractions, the typical Tuesday docket. Judge Caprio moved through cases with his characteristic blend of wisdom, humor, and compassion. An elderly woman who couldn't afford a parking fine got it dismissed. A young man who made an honest mistake got a second chance. Then came case number 47, a simple speeding violation. Nothing unusual about it. 15 miles over the speed limit on Route 95. The defendant was a man in his early 50s, wearing a pressed button-down shirt and dark slacks. He walked to the podium with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced much bigger challenges than traffic court. "State your name for the record," Judge Caprio said, not looking up from his paperwork. "Michael Anthony Torino, Your Honor." The judge's pen stopped moving. His head slowly lifted from the documents. The name hung in the air like an echo from another lifetime. Judge Caprio stared at the man, his expression shifting from routine attention to something much deeper. Recognition mixed with disbelief. The courtroom fell unusually quiet. Those who knew Judge Caprio could see something had changed. His assistant, Maria, who had worked with him for 15 years, had never seen him react this way to a simple name. Slowly, "Torino," the judge repeated slowly, almost to himself. "Michael Torino." The defendant looked puzzled but respectful. "Yes, Your Honor, that's correct." Judge Caprio set down his pen entirely now. His hands, weathered from decades of holding gavels and signing documents, trembled almost imperceptibly. Thoughtful. "Son, I need to ask you something, and I hope you'll forgive an old judge for getting personal. What was your father's name?" Michael straightened slightly, clearly wondering where this was going. "Anthony Torino, Your Honor. He passed away 12 years ago." The change in Judge Caprio was immediate and profound. Color drained from his face, and for a moment, this man who had commanded courtrooms for decades looked vulnerable, almost fragile. Court officers exchanged glances. The stenographer paused her typing. "Anthony Torino," Judge Caprio whispered. "Big Tony. Worked construction. Had hands the size of dinner plates and a laugh that could fill a room." Michael's eyes widened. You knew my father?" What happened next would become legend in the Providence court system. Judge Caprio stood up slowly, something he rarely did during proceedings. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of decades-old emotion. "Know him? Son, your father saved my life." The courtroom was now completely silent. Even the usual shuffling of papers and whispered conversations had stopped. Everyone sensed they were witnessing something extraordinary. Judge Caprio stepped down from his bench, approaching the defendant's podium, something that was almost unheard of in his courtroom. Protocol be damned, this was bigger than procedure. "It was 1987, he began, his voice stronger now, but filled with emotion. "I was a young lawyer then, not yet a judge. I was representing a client in a construction accident case, a worker who had been injured when scaffolding collapsed at a job site downtown." Michael listened intently, his traffic violation forgotten, as were everyone else's cases for the moment. "Your father was the foreman on that job. Big Tony, they called him. He was supposed to testify as a witness, but I could tell he was nervous about it. Construction guys, especially the Italian guys from Federal Hill, they didn't always trust lawyers or courts. But Tony was different." The judge paused, lost in the memory. The night before the trial, I was leaving my office late. It was probably 10 p.m. I was walking to my car in that parking lot behind the old courthouse on Doran Street. You remember that area? How dark it got at night? Michael nodded, though he was just absorbing every word. 3 men approached me. I could smell alcohol on them, and I could see the anger in their eyes. They knew who I was, knew I was representing the injured worker. They didn't want that case to go to trial. They wanted me to drop it. Judge Caprio's voice dropped lower, more intense. They weren't asking, son. They were telling. And when I refused, well, let's just say the conversation took a violent turn. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the old building's heating system humming. I was on the ground. One of them had a pipe. I honestly thought that was it for me. I was going to die in a parking lot for trying to help a hurt worker get justice. Michael's hands had unconsciously clenched into fists as he listened. And then, out of nowhere, came this voice. Deep, booming, with that thick Federal Hill accent. Hey, you pieces of garbage. Get away from him. Your father appeared like an avenging angel. 6'2", probably 240 pounds of pure muscle from a lifetime of construction work. Judge Caprio's eyes were bright now, reliving the moment. Those 3 men took one look at Big Tony and ran. Not walked, ran. Your father helped me up, dusted me off, and asked if I was okay. When I thanked him, you know what he said? Michael shook his head, hanging on every word. He said, "Nobody deserves to get hurt for doing the right thing, counselor. You go win that case tomorrow." And then he walked away, just like that. Judge Caprio wiped his eyes, not caring that a courtroom full of people was watching. I won that case, Michael. The injured worker got the compensation he deserved. His family didn't lose their home. His kids stayed in school. All because your father gave me the courage to keep fighting for what was right. The emotional weight in the room was palpable. Several people in the gallery were wiping their own eyes. But that's not the end of the story, Judge Caprio continued. A week later, Tony came to my office. He didn't want any publicity, didn't want any reward. He just wanted to make sure I was okay. We talked for 2 hours that day. He told me about his family, about you. You were just a teenager then. He was so proud of you, son, so proud. Michael's voice was thick when he finally spoke. He never told me this story. That was your father. He didn't do good deeds for recognition. He did them because they were right. But you know what he did tell me that day? He said he hoped that someday, when you were older, you'd understand what it meant to stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. Judge Caprio looked directly at Michael. He said he was raising you to be better than him, which seemed impossible to me, because I'd never met a better man. The judge paused, collecting himself. I tried to find him years later, when I became a judge. I wanted to thank him properly, maybe do something special for your family. But by then he'd moved, and I lost track. I always regretted that. Your Honor, Michael said quietly, my father used to tell me stories about work, about the people he met. He always said that helping people was more important than money or recognition. I wish I'd known about this. Judge Caprio returned to his bench, but his demeanor had completely transformed. This wasn't just a judge dealing with a traffic case anymore. This was one human being honoring another's legacy. Michael Anthony Torino, he said formally, you're here today for a speeding violation. 15 miles over the speed limit on Route 95. Yes, Your Honor. Son, I want you to understand something. The debt I owe your family can never be repaid. Your father didn't just save my life that night. He saved my career, my ability to serve justice in this courtroom for over 30 years. Every case I've heard, every person I've helped, every moment of fairness I've been able to provide, it all exists because of Big Tony Torino's courage. The judge picked up his gavel, but instead of striking it, he simply held it, weighing his words carefully. Now, some might say that what I'm about to do isn't fair. Some might say that justice should be blind to personal connections. But I'll tell you what Big Tony taught me that night. Sometimes doing the right thing means putting humanity before procedure. He looked directly at Michael. Case dismissed. The fine is waived, the points are removed from your record, and the violation is expunged. But I'm not doing this just because of what your father did for me. Michael looked confused. Sir? I'm doing it because of what you've done since then. My bailiff ran a background check while we were talking. Standard procedure. Do you want to tell the court what you do for a living, Mr. Torino? Michael seemed embarrassed. I'm a paramedic, Your Honor. Providence Emergency Medical Services. The judge smiled, a wide, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. 22 years of service, 17 commendations, 3 life-saving awards. You've personally saved 43 lives in the line of duty. The courtroom erupted in spontaneous applause. Michael looked stunned. You see, son, your father was right. He did raise you to be better than him, though I still maintain that would be nearly impossible. You've spent your life standing up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves, just like he did. Judge Caprio stood one final time. Big Tony Torino saved one life 37 years ago, mine. His son has saved 43 lives since then. I'd say that debt has been paid with interest. The emotional impact on everyone present was overwhelming. Court officers, defendants waiting for their cases, regular observers. Everyone understood they had witnessed something extraordinary. Mr. Torino, Judge Caprio concluded, drive safely. Your father would be proud, and this community needs you to keep doing what you're doing. As Michael walked away from the podium, Judge Caprio called out one last time. And Michael, thank you for everything your family has given to this city. That day in Providence Municipal Court became legendary. Word spread quickly through the courthouse, then the city, and eventually the world through social media and news coverage. It wasn't just about a traffic ticket being dismissed. It was about the power of gratitude, the circle of service, and how one act of courage can ripple through decades. Judge Frank Caprio has always been known for his compassion and fairness, but that day reminded everyone why some people become more than just public servants. They become symbols of what's best in humanity. Michael Torino continues to serve as a paramedic in Providence. He still drives Route 95 to work every day, and every time he passes that courthouse, he thinks about his father and the judge whose life Big Tony saved with nothing but courage and conscience. And Judge Caprio? He keeps a small, framed photo on his desk now, a construction photo from 1987 that Michael brought him the following week. In it, Anthony Big Tony Torino stands with his crew, smiling that room-filling smile his son remembered. Sometimes the most powerful debts aren't financial, they're human. And sometimes justice isn't just about law. It's about love, legacy, and the courage to do what's right, even when no one is watching.
If this story moved you, share it. Let others know that heroism doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a badge. Sometimes it just shows up in a parking lot at 10 p.m. and refuses to let evil win.
What would you do if you met someone whose family had changed your life? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us why humanity is worth believing in.